Hey guys, Nathan here. 24 Chambers of Film. I'm here with Steven. We're going to be discussing The Iron Claw. Pretty sure most of you have heard of it. It was an Oscar contention last year, recently released on HBO Max, roughly about a month and a half ago. And good movie based on true events. Steven, did you watch it recently or did you watch it when it was having its run to go up for the Oscar?
I watched it pretty late, honestly. I wanted to watch it because it came out in December last year, and for life reasons, I just wasn't able to catch it in the theater, unfortunately. So I ended up watching it. I rented it when it became available to rent, like on iTunes, on Apple TV. So I rented it. Me and my wife saw it, and I wasn't too aware. I knew the story, but I didn't know the details. So it was pretty new, pretty fresh to me, the story, and we watched it, and by the end of the movie, we were a blubbery mess of tears. We were crying, and I liked it overall. I feel like it could have been longer. Personally, I feel like it felt like maybe there were some things missing, and then when I looked into it after, I'm like, oh, okay, it could have maybe fleshed out a little bit more. But overall, I thought it was, I thought it was pretty good, pretty strong. I thought the performances were really strong, especially Zac Efron. He did great. Yeah, and it was well filmed and everything like that. And the director hasn't made a movie in a while, like a feature film in a while. So it was, well, he did. He made one recently, but he kind of took like a break, and then he made two movies, The Nest and then this one. And so that was cool seeing him do this movie. And I thought he filmed it great. I thought it was a well executed biopic, which I'm not a big fan of biopics, but since me and you were wrestling heads back in the day, I think that naturally piques our interest. Even if it's based on a true story, and I'm not big on biopics, so it was good.
So I watched it late as well. I didn't watch it until it got to HBO
Mhm.
Max on streaming. At the same time, we're completely different when it comes to movies. I rarely go to the movie theater. I prefer to watch movies at home. Um,
Sin.
but normally, this is something that I would try to watch, like in
Mhm.
the theater. But I was so worried that I was going to be disappointed because I know the entire backstory, and I wasn't a fan of how they cast it in some parts. Like I
Mhm.
thought Fritz von Erich, who's played by the guy from, well, for me, he's the guy from Mindhunter, right, on Netflix, the series, the dad. I
Yeah,
believe
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
actor's name is Holt McCallany. I thought
yes,
he did a great job.
yeah.
Um, I didn't like how they cast Zac Efron because if you look at the real life people, and again, it doesn't matter really if you
Mhm.
don't know the story, but I would not have cast him as Kevin Von Erich. I didn't think he fit that casting. If anything, I thought he was, when I first saw it, I think he was playing Kerry Von Erich. And then I found out he was Kevin Von
Yeah.
Erich. And then when I saw they cast as Kerry Von Erich, which is the guy from The Bear and Shameless, Jeremy Allen White,
Mhm.
I was like, what is that? Because they're supposed to be playing like these big wrestlers, right?
Yeah.
And that guy is like what, 5'8" or something like that. And like
Mhm.
he looks like he's 5'8". Like you can't do any of the trickery where it makes him seem bigger. So to me, that was just like a horrible casting. Like I just didn't buy him in that role. So I was very skeptical going into the movie because of the casting, right?
Mhm.
Um, so when so going into the movie, right, for anyone who doesn't know, there's going to be tons of spoilers here because we're just going to go over the movie. So if you haven't seen it or you don't know the story, you know, turn it off because if you don't want to hear any spoilers. But essentially, the movie is about the Von Erichs, who are a famous professional wrestling family. The
Mhm.
father was a wrestler, and then most of his kids became wrestlers afterwards. And tragically, um, several of them died. I believe three of them ended up committing, ending their own lives
In the
because
movie,
of different.
three of them. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so I think in
actually
reality it was,
it's four of them in the
yeah, in reality it
movie,
was four
but
of
it's
them. In
five of them in real life.
Yeah, so four of them ended up taking their own lives, I believe.
No, no,
Um,
they had a. Remember, it was the younger one who died of
yeah,
something.
no, but in the so sorry in the no, but in the movie, only two of them took their life, right?
Yes.
In real life, 3 of them took their life, and then one
One of them
passed
is
away.
completely omitted from the movie.
Yes, and
His
that one,
life,
he took his life as well in real
yeah.
life.
But the first one that passed away was some type of
Yes, that was a child, and it
no.
happened before.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. The first one of the older
Okay,
brothers.
yes, that was because of yeah, that was just
He
what they
had
believed to be natural
some-
causes in Japan when he was out there
he had a
wrestling.
gut issue or something, and he got an
Yeah,
infection, and he died. Yeah.
but essentially, it's a tragic movie because you have a family of in in the movie in the movie itself, not in real life, right? It's 4 brothers, 3 of them pass away, right?
Hmm.
And the dad is kind of he's a hard head, he's difficult on them,
Yeah, he's a
pushes
hard ass.
them, yeah, pushes them as hard as he can. I mean, there's even a scene when he's talking to one of them and he says, "Hey, uh this, Kevin's my favorite, then it's Carrie, then it's David,
Hmm.
then it's, something
Yeah.
along those lines." He goes, "But the rankings can always change." So it kind of sets the tone for his character, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
essentially the movie starts after his professional wrestling career is over, the dad's, and then one of the sons is out in the Olympics training to be in the Olympics, right? And then the
Hmm.
other one is trained to be a professional wrestler. And he's on his path to potentially be like a champion, right? Because at the time, they're not in the WWE or anything like that. They
Hmm.
own their own promotion. They're looking for the NWA title, which is like the most prestigious title at the time. Then the Olympics get canceled, and Carrie, which is the one who was training for the Olympics, ends up coming back home. So
Well,
basically, they're looking.
two of them are being wrestlers, Zac
Yeah, 2
Efron
of them are
and the other
wrestlers.
one. Yeah. And then the other
Yeah,
one, the other brother is like more
he's
into
more
music.
musical.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So what happens when he comes back and the U.S. boycotts the Olympics? He decides to join them as well. And the one who's been there the longest, Kevin, he gets his crack at the NWA title. And I believe it's against Harley Race, and he doesn't win. And the dad's not. He messes up. He like makes some mistakes, and the dad kind of like is upset about it. Also, one thing that kind of was weird to me is how everyone knows wrestling is
Fake.
predetermined,
Yeah.
right? And it's almost like some of their reactions, like they were still trying to sell that it was real,
Hmm.
So that was kind of weird to me because, are we supposed to suspend that disbelief or what?
Wrestling's not fake.
Yeah. So that happened, and then
Hmm.
the brother Carrie, the one who was in the Olympics, he gets the shot, and oh
He
no,
gets
sorry.
it.
The other brother,
The other
David,
brother,
is supposed. The other brother, David, is the one who's supposed to get pushed up next, and he's
but he
actually doing a run
dies.
in. Yeah, he's doing a run in Japan, and he passes away over there. So they end up then kind of moving on to Carrie, who, in reality, if you look at him physically, he's like the one who has the looks and everything to, back in the '80s for
Uh-huh.
professional wrestling, right? He's got the Ultimate Warrior type of physique and all that stuff, and he eventually actually ends up winning the NWA title against Ric Flair. And in real life, the timeline in the movie is not accurate, but in real life, he ended up getting in an accident and his foot ended up getting amputated, and they kept it a secret. And he would wrestle with a prosthetic on,
Hmm.
and he
And that
ended up
happens
making
in
it
the
all.
movie. And that happens in the
It
movie.
happened to the movie. The timeline is just completely different
Yeah,
on how it
yeah.
happened, right?
Hmm.
Um, so he ends up making it to the WWE, which again is true, and he's wearing the prosthetic. Meanwhile, the other,
Which is wild that he even got
yeah,
to that far with a fake foot.
yeah, and then the other brother, which forget his name, I believe it because David was the one that died in Japan.
Yeah. And then
I
there's
think it's
Kevin, and
Mike.
then
Mike is the one
let me look.
who was a musician, and then they had
Yeah.
him start wrestling, and he
Mike, yeah.
injured himself wrestling. Right, he injures
Hmm.
himself, and he has to go into surgery. And there's an issue during the surgery, and he loses some of his mental capacity.
He goes into a coma for a while,
Yeah.
and then
And he loses some of his mental capacity. Meanwhile, like the mother's like suffering through all this, and the mom is God, I recognize her from a bunch of movies, but it's one of those actresses where you recognize her, but then you
yeah,
never like remember her. You don't remember her name,
yeah.
right?
Her
Right
name's
away. Uh,
Maura Tierney. That's
yeah,
her name, Maura
she you
Tierney.
see her face,
Yeah, she's been in a bunch of stuff.
you
Yeah,
see her
she's a
face,
good
you
actor.
recognize right
Yeah.
away. Yeah, and So she's, suffering through all this, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of personal issues. They're going through the relationship that Kevin's recently married, and they're going through the relationship that he has
Hmm.
with his wife now being married, and kind of starting to struggle because even in his own family, he's fading from the spotlight. Right? He's no
Yeah.
longer the top dog. When it started, he was a top dog. So Carrie, wins the belt, and it's you know, and the other brother who has the issues after the accident, he ends up, uh,
Killing himself.
ending his own life.
Because he knows he's different. He knows he feels all
Yeah, he
fucked up from
realizes.
it. Yeah. He like gains
Yeah,
his
so it ends up.
consciousness back, but he's just not the same. He can't play music how he used to. And he goes into the woods basically and he ends up killing himself.
Yeah, so
And I don't even
then
know if they say how in the movie. I forgot how he did it in real life, but
I think it was. I don't remember 100%, but I want to
mm,
say it was. It was pills or something like that.
okay,
Like it
okay,
was an
yeah.
OD, but I'm not 100%.
And here's the thing, they don't show any of the kills on screen. They don't show
Yeah, it's all
any.
kind of off screen to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then what happens is, Carrie's going through his issues, and Carrie's expressing that he has, issues that he's dealing with, that he wants to join his other two brothers now who have passed away. And the brother Kevin, and there's a lot of tension between them and their dad, right? And all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. And then eventually what happens is the he he takes his own life as well with a gun, and he
Hmm.
gets found, and the whole family kind of just, after that, the whole family just falls apart. He got cut from the WWE. He just had
Hmm.
he believe he had like substance abuse issues as well. So then Kevin ends up taking over his dad's wrestling promotion, and the dad like doesn't want him to
Sell it.
the dad. So Kevin kind of realizes dad's basically seems like he's been skimming the books for years, and
Yeah.
kind of gave him something that you know, doesn't make sense when you look at the
Uh-huh.
books. And the dad's like, I've earned that, after all these years and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the movie really, basically, they have a falling out. He ends up selling the promotion and moving, and taking his wife and kids with him. And then the mom ends up leaving the dad. And the dad eventually, they don't show it on screen, but he ends up dying of cancer a few years later.
And they don't
Um,
show the mom leave the dad in the movie either. But
no, they don't. But
it's
you
hinted
get
that it's
it's
hinted
hinted
that
that
she's
she's
like
kind of like,
she's
yeah,
over
she's got a
his
different
yeah, she's
approach
over
to
his
life
shit
now.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a pretty depressing movie in the way that it plays out. I mean, it's a true story,
I mean,
for the
it's
most
the
part
real life is
overall.
more depressing for sure. Like
Yeah,
it could have been way more depressing, but they left stuff out, or
yeah,
they
and
cut corners and left stuff out because yeah, it would have been a longer and more depressing movie than what it was.
and for me, I'll go first. I'll give the rating on this. I give this solid 7 out of 10. We do the ratings on a 7 out of 10 scale, and I give it a 7 because if I didn't know a lot of stuff that I didn't know that I knew, I'd probably
Hmm.
give it a little bit higher rating. But I felt there was stuff that could have been added to like. I felt there was a lot of stuff that I think could. Cause initially, you're just looking at these guys as wrestlers, right?
Hmm.
And they're, like Carrie Von Erich had a daughter, and
Hmm.
completely omitted from the movie, right? It just make him seem
Yeah.
like he's kind of just, a guy who's made it to the pinnacle of professional wrestling. He's struggling with it, but like the guy had a family, everything, right? Like I
Yeah.
said, they left one of the brothers out. They did a good job capturing the dad's obsession with kind of like living vicariously through his children, because his goal was to be the NWA champion. He never got that. And so he wants to push his kids to get that belt, to their
Yeah.
house. And he even says that a few times in the movie. And again, for me, the biggest X factor in what kind of held it back was casting. I felt like what they want to do is we want to get somebody who's got some name recognition, and Jeremy
Hmm.
Allen White has been red hot because of the show The Bear, right?
Hmm.
And Zac Efron, right? So
Hmm.
he's like an attraction in himself, but I just didn't like that casting at all. I didn't buy them as the characters, and again, I don't if like Jeremy Allen White seemed like the persona, like seemed like a wrestler, but he seemed like, you could tell when you're watching the movie, he's like a small guy, right? And you just don't see, like, there's a part where
What are you saying? Small guys can't be wrestlers? What the hell's your
no,
problem?
but that guy's not a small guy in real life. Kerry
Okay,
Von
well,
Erich's not a small
finish your
guy.
point, and I have a counter to what
And
you're saying. But yeah,
and
go.
then you have guys like when they wrestle Bruiser Brody, right? Bruiser Brody
Mhm.
wasn't a small guy, yet he's damn near identical. He's like maybe a few inches taller than those guys, and they just seem small when you're looking at the overall thing and who they're supposed to be playing. They don't fit that role. You know, Zac Efron looks jacked as hell, right? But what's crazy is when you look at Kevin
Kevin.
Von Erich, he was slimmer and muscular, but he was slimmer, and it was Kerry who was kind of built like Zac Efron, you know. So it just again, to me that was just so Hollywood, and it's like I don't know, it just bothered me that they couldn't stay a little bit more true to how these guys were, you know, because I couldn't buy Jeremy Allen White in that role. Let me put it that way.
All right.
Zac Efron, 100% yes.
Yeah, no. Well, I see where you're coming from. I don't necessarily agree. With this, particularly with this film, I'll tell you why. So, hold on, I gotta sneeze. It's coming. Okay, never mind. Um, so I normally would probably feel how you were feeling about like they're not really matching the casting right and all that stuff. Um, One thing is the Von Erichs, though they are known in the wrestling community and the story is known to the masses, nobody knows them, right? Would you agree? Would you concede to that? To like the general public, you say,
Yeah,
"Hey, Von Erich," they're gonna be like, "Who?" You know, they're not like Stone Cold. Everyone knows what Stone Cold looks like. A
yeah.
lot of people don't know who these guys are or who they look like. Um, so I think it's okay, or I think it gets away with not casting the actors that look exactly like the real people because at the end of the day, it's not something that's super publicly known to the general audience. I agree. No, most of the time, I'm like, hey, try to get them to look as much as you can. I think that always works
Well,
better.
see, my problem wasn't with the look, was with the size. That was my issue.
Well, even with the size, like most people aren't gonna know that Jeremy Allen White is not the same body. Like it looks way different body
But
type
I'm
rather
not.
than
I'm not even. I'm talking about. Okay, like Tom Cruise is a small guy, right?
yeah.
But when they comes out in the movies, you wouldn't know that he's as small as he is. I
Okay,
could tell
I wouldn't
Jeremy Allen
say
White was small.
I wouldn't say that necessarily, but I get what you're saying. I don't. I think it. I thought Jeremy Allen White was great in the role. He acted very well. He played the role great. Yes, could he? You know, I understand where you're coming from, but
Well,
I think
here's
he worked fine, and I think I didn't have any issues with his size or his build. I think he looked athletic. He looked like he was in shape. He was ripped. He had muscle. He just wasn't as big as what you wanted, I guess. Um, but I thought he performed all the emotional stuff good. All the like clearly he was struggling the character with his demons. I thought he portrayed that well, without them going overly. I feel like the movie didn't go overly into anything, you know, maybe besides Kevin's stuff because he's clearly the only one that's alive and he's the main character, Um, but with all the other brothers, they didn't go overly into like their backstory. You know what I mean? Or
see,
their
and I
what they're
actually thought
into.
that was a problem because I thought it was had too much wrestling in there. Like
Yeah,
I thought
I
it
could
was
agree with that. I could agree with that.
way too much wrestling, and I felt like I mean I get it, it's a tragic story, and but I felt there was so much more that was kind of untapped,
Yeah,
in that
I feel
sense.
like
Like one thing that they kind of glossed over is that, and it's funny because I believe MJF, who's a huge like wrestler right now for
mhm,
AEW, they basically at one point they brought in another wrestler who wasn't even related to them to portray an actual brother of theirs, and they
mhm,
show that in the background you see that going
mhm.
on, right? Like you just see some random guy in there now and they don't address it, but like to me that's kind of adds to the whole thing of how obsessed the dad was with this, right? That he basically, we're going to bring in another guy who's not even our family and we're going to pretend he's part of
Yeah,
our
yeah,
family, right? For a
yeah.
keyfabe, you know. And again, they talk, they left the brother out. They didn't even address the fact that Carrie Von Erich had a family, and even the scene where he dies, that was not accurate. Like none of that happened like in that vicinity
Yeah,
or space how it was. And I don't really understand what the point of switching it like that was, right?
I
Like
know
I don't think
why.
it added or
I,
removed anything from the
yeah,
movie.
I mean, look, I know why well, at least I'm assuming the filmmakers thought that it being close to the house, like, first of all, it kind of puts everything in a close vicinity. You could shoot things like it becomes more. Listen, if it happened the way it happened in the movie, it'd be more compelling the way it happened in real life because now you have the whole interaction with the dad, Kevin, all that stuff. Finding the bot. Like that's very dramatic. You know what I mean? That's all they're going for is to add the dramatics.
Do they really need to add more dramatics to this movie? Like, you get what I'm
No,
saying? It's like,
no, but this movie is clearly trying to make you feel a certain type of way, and those elements that they add is gonna, tighten or push the emotional knife into you more. At least that's what they are hoping for. I would say this. I give it an 8 of the movie, 8 out of 10, because I like the filmmaking of it. I thought it was well executed, technically and all that stuff. I do think it should have been longer film to kind of flesh out those things like the characters, the brothers, the relationship even more, and just show more of a dynamic. And like you said, I think a little less wrestling would have been okay. I think that would have helped. It does bug me that they omitted a brother. I get it. They're like, oh, it's going to be too much. I'm like, it's already there. It's already too much. Why not just add the other brother? Um, like I read an interview or I read a quote that the director said, oh, it would have been like too unbelievable if there was another brother that killed himself. I was like, well, that's what happened. And they could go look it up. Like, to me, it's like, I think they're
like,
really,
dude, you're making him like that's crazy that he said
yeah,
that. It's like people,
yeah.
yeah, like
I'm pretty
because
sure.
here's the
Like,
thing.
don't quote me, but you can look it up. It's something along those
Okay,
lines that he said. But
what's the first thing that everyone does when they finish watching the movie that's supposed to be?
they look at what really happened.
Yeah,
But what I was gonna say is, I think that we're just trying to keep it down to. I think sometimes movies and studios like hey, you can't go past this runtime. You know what I mean? That might be like a financial thing. We don't want it to go longer than 2 hours. I think the movie's 2 hours and 19 minutes, if I'm correct, or
yes,
something like that.
kind of long. Yeah,
Yeah. They're like, we don't want you to reach 2 hours and a half or 2 hours and 40 minutes. Okay. So yeah, you're going to have to cut corners and tighten things. And that kind of explains why, like, maybe certain things happen. The timelines are shortened. That's just part of the movie. At the end of the
I'm
day,
sending you.
go ahead.
I'm sending you right now a picture and look at it. And this comes out in the movie. They wrestle against Bruiser Brody. Bruiser Brody is billed at 6'8". Okay. Reality, he's probably like 6'6", 6'5", because they always build him higher. And I'll put it on screen here as well. But that's how big those guys are in real life. And in the movie,
Why is this
Bruiser
image small?
Brody.
I can't even look at it, dude.
Okay,
Well, you're
I'll
supposed to screenshot it and then send me the picture, not send me the link to the goddamn thing. Come
I
on, bro.
didn't put a link in, but
Hey, this guy's been on Android for half his life, so he's a little new to the.
no. So
He's a little new to the Apple tech.
But look at their size, and in the movie they look drastically smaller than the guy that they put in there.
Yeah. Look, those I get what you're saying. Like, I get it. Like, I normally those things kind of irk me too, but like I said, they weren't. Like I said, like
This
I don't know.
isn't the Rey Mysterio story, This is freaking,
Yeah, I know,
you
but
know.
I'm saying it didn't bug me too much for some reason. Maybe because they weren't like a super known uh, wrestlers and stuff like that. Like Ric Flair, the guy who played Ric Flair. What'd you think of him?
I thought he sucked.
I thought he looked good, but I felt
I
like
thought
he
his
was.
impersonation was
I
horrible.
feel like his impersonation was not bad. It just was kind of like a watered down version
I
of Ric
almost
Flair.
felt like they were trying to make it a joke on purpose.
But also, it's like, I don't know, how was Ric Flair during that time? He must have not been. He was younger and he was newer. He probably wasn't as
But he
sophisticated
didn't look.
in his
But
approach.
no, dude, his impersonation was freaking not anything like Ric Flair.
I
in my
wouldn't say
opinion.
that. I wouldn't say that. I don't think it was great, but I don't
That
think it
was
was
like
awful.
that was like a Wish version of Ric Flair, 100%.
I mean, look, I wouldn't say that low, but I'm just saying it could have been
Oh, it
better.
was
I agree. I agree. It could
no
have been
doubt.
better. But I didn't think
It
it
was
was
not good.
awful. I thought it could have been better. But I wouldn't say it was an awful performance as Ric Flair. Um, what was I gonna say? But yeah, I feel like like those things that I mentioned, like could have been longer. They could have added more character to the brothers and relationship wise, even to the mom. She kind of pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. She kind of seemed way too passive, way too much of like an enabler of the father. Which maybe was probably true in real life, but I wish I would have seen. I wonder if like to me, it makes me think like she was just someone who was like super submissive and I'm like, hey, did you ever fucking stand up for your kids like harder than what you did that is shown in the movie? Like that's what I wish they would have shown more like her to like
I mean,
kind of
maybe she didn't though. That's the thing. Like,
maybe she didn't, but I feel like you could have added some nuance or some complexity. There's something there to someone who is just a passenger and letting things like that run in the family, like by the father, because he was doing he like stuff like that, like saying like you're my favorite and all that stuff, like
I actually found that pretty hilarious,
no, it's
honestly.
funny. It's funny, but to
Um,
me, her not reacting to it or being like, okay, maybe like she thinks he's joking. I don't know, but clearly it doesn't seem like he's joking. He seems like he's serious, at least from my perspective.
like
I
he
just wish
did.
she would have
The
had.
dad, the
I
dad did the
wish,
best job as an actor. I have to say that
yeah,
he
he was. He
hands
was.
down.
I would say him and not Kevin. And Zac Efron did the best. I would say he's good, but Zac Efron he really brings the punch at the end.
And you know the other thing, really quick, that I didn't like about the Jeremy Allen White casting was
He's just a
he
hater.
just he just always looks miserable, like always. Like the guy
Hey, the guy,
never looks.
the guy killed himself. I think he has the
No,
right to
but here's the
remember.
thing, though. Here's the thing. He doesn't look like he's about to cry every day of his life, like in real life. Like he did. Jeremy Allen White looks like he's gonna cry all the time. Like he's so mad that he's gonna
They
burst
fucking
into
canceled the
tears.
Olympics on his ass. I'd be pretty fucking depressed too if that's what
No,
you were
but
going for.
what I'm saying is like his just face has this persona. I just didn't buy him in that role.
Hey,
Honestly,
his
that
dad
was
is a
probably,
fucking asshole. I'd be pretty
that's probably my
depressed.
biggest gripe, that he didn't fit the role. That he
Look,
didn't fit the
look,
role.
Jeremy Allen White, if you're watching
And
this, I'm on your side. Okay,
that's
don't
not to
listen to
say that
this
he's not a
guy.
great actor. I just didn't think he fit the role. That's all. Like I thought they could have gotten. There could have been a lot better
Look,
castings there.
could they?
I thought they should have got Zac Efron to play Carrie Von Erich. Honestly,
Look, could they have gotten a different actor and could have done a great job? I'm sure they could have. But they got Jeremy Allen White, and I think acting wise, 2 thumbs up on my part. I think he did great.
I mean, if they told him
Acting
to just
wise,
be miserable the whole time, yeah.
well, you don't know what the direction was. Maybe that was what they taught. Like, hey, he needs to be looking like a guy who's like not like looks like. To me, he looked like a guy who was gonna explode. He was like trying not to explode, which made him feel like miserable, And he ended up exploding at the end. So I see where you're coming from, but I don't have those issues with him in the movie or the movie itself. But I agree. It could have been fleshed out more. I think we both agree on that it could have been longer. They shouldn't have left out the other brother. Um, Wrestling could have been toned down. It didn't eat that much. So yeah, I agree. I think
Yes.
we're on point. We're on the same page on those things. I think that Jeremy Allen White's our biggest disagreement.
Yeah, because he shouldn't have been cast in that role.
Hey, it was a good role. It's a good role. I mean, look, did you
He
cry or
just
no? Are you too cool for school?
I already knew the story, so nothing like surprised me. Like
Yeah,
it's not the same when like you already know the story, and it's not like
I guess that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. No, that's
it's not. Yeah, it's not the same. They did have some good moments again, like acting. Um, but yeah, I definitely think that it could have been. Again, I had high hopes for it, and I just think knowing the real story made it hard for me to just ignore that. And then, like I said, I vehemently disagree with the casting of Jeremy Allen White.
And I think
You
that's
know?
another thing. I know you were familiar with the story from the beginning. We talked about this before the movie was even released. You had told me like, oh yeah, the Von Erichs, and I knew about it, but I never had watched that documentary and gone deep into it. But before the movie came out, I did watch a little bit of it, but then I stopped like maybe like 30 minutes in. I'm like, no, I'm gonna watch it without knowing exactly how things play out, So that does affect your experience. I get that for sure. You're a little bit
And
more
then
critical, I feel like, when you know the story.
and they even like left out like a huge part, that I thought would have been kind of helped, would have helped a little bit as far as to kind of paint the the whole, because they almost just like make the dad look like an asshole, right? And
That's another
I
thing.
think I think
I would have preferred more nuance from him too.
well, again, it sounds like he was an asshole in real life for everything you see and read and stuff. But like, for example, when he was a wrestler, he was a heel, right?
Uh-huh.
And once he quit wrestling, he was able to transition to like a local fan favorite. People loved the family and all that stuff. I mean, they had a huge promotion on their own, and and it's kind of weird because they should have showed some of the stuff that kept him from getting beyond what he wanted in wrestling, so you can kind
Mm-hmm.
of relate to why he was. Because I think you get a lot of parents that are trying to live vicariously through their kids, right?
Of
Even in
course,
real
yeah.
life, all the
Yeah.
time. So I think a lot of people could kind of relate to that, but I feel like they just glossed over that, and they're like, he's just miserable because of whatever, but they didn't really touch on it.
That's
I
that's what
think it would have
I'm
been.
that's what I'm saying about the runtime, like them probably like they could have had
If you're
the
at
movie
2 hours and whatever minutes on it, you might as well just go all the way.
the movie probably should have been 2 hours and 40 minutes at least to get
Yeah,
to get a proper story. But I agree. I feel like they didn't have enough. His character was missing some nuance to really see what makes him tick and why is he so hard. Showing a little bit more of his backstory. They have that cool black and white beginning with him wrestling and stuff, but they don't really, and him making the promises to his wife and all that stuff, but they don't really dive much deeper besides that scene, on him. And after that,
yeah.
it's cuts to the future. He's already kind of a grumpy, older, hard ass, it would,
It wasn't.
or at least have a scene where he's explaining something to someone or like why he's so hard on his kids, or the wife questioning him, or something that can show visually why he's like that a little bit more, to like flesh him out a little bit better. But the actor did great. What's his name again? From Mindhunters, I keep forgetting what his name is, but he's a great actor.
He's got a Holt McCallany.
Holt, that's what it was. Yeah, yeah.
And the other thing was like this, I
McCallany.
know there
Yeah.
was like Oscar buzz around it, but it didn't even get nominated, right?
No, it really got a lot of people wanted it to get nominated. It had a
Yeah.
lot of good buzz, but it got
And
shut out. Yeah.
I'm not saying, based on other stuff that I see get nominated, I think it should have, potentially been in there. But
Oh,
I
it could
think
have been. Yeah.
the mistake they made was really making it so wrestling heavy. I think that was kind of, let me put it this way. I had someone ask me, what's better, this or The Wrestler?
The
And
wrestler.
I think the Wrestler is a better movie,
Yeah,
and
the
I thought
wrestler.
this had the potential to be a better movie, and they fell short.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be tough. It'd be tough. It's hard to top the wrestler and Ready to Rumble.
Okay, Ready Rumble's a hilarious movie, but it's not a better like movie. Like,
Whoa,
it
whoa! Why? Just because it's a comedy? Come on, you
no,
can't say that.
it's come on, like you're being ridiculous now.
No, it's
Um,
not. Okay, people.
Ready to
Ready to
Rumble's a good
Rumble.
movie. It's a great
Ready to
time.
Rumble. Ready to Rumble
It's a
is
great one
top
to
three
watch
best wrestling movies of all time. Okay,
because there's what, 4 wrestling movies ever made. Like
maybe they're okay. Top two.
um, but no, I just think that
Okay.
I thought there
Do
was a
you
lot of
think?
potential in this
What do you
movie, and I thought it.
prefer? What do you prefer? Iron Claw or Ready to Rumble?
It's funny because I actually watched Ready to Rumble recently again, and I'm like, it's one of those where I'm like, I can't believe I used to watch this shit when I was younger because it was so ridiculous. Now it's got funny moments,
It's supposed to
but
be ridiculous.
no, I know, but like it's got funny moments, but I can't say it's a better movie than Iron Claw. But
Okay,
it's
so what
entertaining.
do you think? Okay, so look at it like this. They're totally different tone types of wrestling movies. What do you think? Who do you think executed their style of a wrestling movie better? Ready to Rumble or Iron Claw? I think Ready to Rumble succeeded better
Yeah,
at
but
for
also I
doing
think
what it was trying to do.
the bar was set a lot lower.
It's hard to make people laugh. But what the fuck are you talking about?
But okay, here's the thing: show that movie to 100 people, and how many of them are actually going to laugh?
I
It's
think
it's
98. I think 98
selective.
people.
See, you're just being ridiculous now because it's very selective humor. And I know, you know how I know when you're being ridiculous? Because when you're being ridiculous, you do this crap right here. Like that's how you know. It's like
That's
your
just
coping
me
mechanism
winning.
for.
That's me
No,
winning.
that's your coping mechanism for I'm spitting some bullshit out right now.
No way,
and
no
trying
way.
to make it
I
seem
will.
like I
No,
believe
no,
it.
no, no, no. I 100% believe Ready to Rumble. I will die on
It
that
is a
grave.
funny movie. It is a funny movie. But
And it has
is
great
not-
wrestling. It has great
but it's
wrestling.
not like you're making it sound like it's some comedic masterpiece.
Okay, it's up there.
And it's not.
It is up there.
It's just dumb comedy. And it's funny. It's dumb comedy that's funny.
No, you have a disregard for lowbrow humor, and I don't like that.
It's dumb comedy that's funny. Like I said,
Yeah.
it is funny.
Dumb comedy is like the hardest
Like,
thing to
Baby,
do.
you broke my butterfinger, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
First of all, the King is like, let alone
Yeah,
the
he's
King's as
hilarious.
a wrestler is better
He
than
is-
anything
it's
in the
funny.
Iron Claw.
I'm not
I think.
saying it's not funny, but trying to say that it's this grandiose movie is ridiculous.
Bro. It's not trying to be some grandiose movie. It is what
No,
it is.
that's what you're making it sound like
But
it
that's
is.
why it works. That's why it works.
Dude, it's a funny movie. It's a very funny movie. It's an entertaining movie.
And it's a well-made
But it's
movie,
just a
too.
dumb comedy. It's just a dumb comedy.
Don't do that. Don't be that guy who
No. You're the
don't be
fucking
that guy
that does it for a movie.
Don't disregard.
It's a good movie. I'm not disregarding
dumb comedy. What do you mean?
It's a dumb comedy, but it's a good movie. It's entertaining.
It's a movie that filled you with laughter as a child. It's not just some dumb comedy.
How much better do you think The Wrestler is than that movie?
Okay, I do think The Wrestler is better. Okay, I will.
No, how much better? How much better?
Like, give me what do you mean, like out of points, or like it's 5 points
Like,
better or something like that, or what?
Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how much better is it?
Look, then this is the thing. It's hard because
They're gonna spit some bullshit right now. So you're giving the disclaimer.
No, it's hard because these questions are hard because it's all preference when it comes to Iron Claw and The Wrestler. Now that's a fair match because they're tonally wise, they're the same movie in that sense. They're both dealing with wrestling in a serious way. Ready to Rumble is not dealing it in a serious way. It's in a comedic way. So that's why it's hard to choose. It's like, Ready to Rumble, I watch that way more than The Wrestler, and I love The Wrestler. I do watch The Wrestler quite a bit, but I watch Ready to Rumble definitely more than The Wrestler, and I'll watch it more probably till the end of my life, watch it more than The Wrestler. Do you see what I'm saying? It's hard. But if they were both...
But it's not hard in the sense...
I'm right.
You can say, this movie is more entertaining to me, and I just personally like it because it makes me laugh every time.
Okay,
but that doesn't mean it's
cinematically wise, like visually wise, yes, The Wrestler's better. Yes, I would.
Story-wise, it's better.
Story-wise, I don't know. I kind of like the story of the Ready to Rumble, like the fans trying to get in there, and then they end up I think it's a pretty hilarious.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a bunch of BS that could happen that they don't have to account for, like they do in The Wrestler, because they can't just make wild shit up all of a sudden.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but it works, so that doesn't matter.
I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying, dude, stop trying to
put
anywhere near the same level.
I already agreed to you that I like The Wrestler. I think The Wrestler is a better movie.
Okay, now let's get back to the point. The Iron Claw is a better movie.
No.
It is a better movie. It might not be as entertaining as Ready to Rumble, but overall, it is a better movie.
The only thing
it is a better piece of cinema.
The only thing I give it is that it's technically better than Ready to Rumble.
Yes, it's better than Ready to Rumble.
But that's not the only thing.
That does not mean that you don't. That does not mean that your personal preference can't be Ready to Rumble. It's just It's like, for example,
you value drama way more than comedy. I could tell.
no, I value just the
You're
fact
a
that it's
bastard.
overall better. It's overall better. Like, it's just an overall
you
better movie.
you gotta rewire your framework here, dog. You're just
No,
like
dude.
it's
It's just like
you got
it's
like I get what you're
dude.
saying. I get where you're coming from. It's serious. It's got to be better. No, it doesn't.
It's like
Not listen.
dude.
I'll
It's like
say this: not another teen movie is better than both of these than fucking Iron Claw and fucking the Wrestler.
okay, dude.
Let's
I
go.
that. Just shut up. There.
No, and I'm dead serious about this. Okay, I just rewatched.
You literally just lost any credibility you had.
No, I
right
didn't. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
There's people. Whoever watches this video, you fucking tell me if I'm crazy. Not Another Teen Movie is a comedic masterpiece. Okay, and it works. It's one of the best. It's maybe top 3 best parody movies. What it's trying to do, it exceeds. I just watched it the other day. I was fucking laughing out loud. That movie still hits, still rips. It's just, I prefer it more than The Wrestler and Iron Claw, and I love The Wrestler, but I'm putting Not Another Teen Movie on. And it actually is filmed very good. It has some great cinematic filmmaking in it, but it gets overlooked because it's comedic elements.
It gets overlooked because it's just dick and fart jokes.
Okay, now see, you're just disrespecting the movie now. I don't like that.
Dude, oh my god. Okay, we're just gonna end this right here because
we'll have to do our own episode on comedy, okay?
This is just I don't even know what to say right now. I don't even know what to. Okay, so we're gonna end it here. I said 7.0 on Iron Claw. Steven said an 8. Mm-hmm. It's definitely worth a watch. And I got a question really quick before we get off. You said you rented it. Why wouldn't you just buy it? It's like a $5 difference when you buy it as opposed to renting it.
Because I saw it way earlier than you, and it
wasn't available for purchase.
No, they just only had it rent. Well, first of all, they did have it, but I wanted to rent it first. It was like $5.99. I want to make sure I like the movie before I buy it.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, I feel like,
and to buy it, it was like $24.99.
So, did you buy it?
No, I rented it. I haven't bought it yet.
You haven't bought it, but are you gonna buy it?
If it gets down to like $7.99 or something, yeah, I'll buy it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, 7 for the Iron Claw from me, 8 from Steven. I think the big takeaway from here is that this guy just is like, I don't even know. I'm at a loss for words with some of the shit he was saying here today.
No, everybody, Nathan just doesn't value comedy the way I do.
No, I love comedy. I'm always actually looking for comedic movies.
I didn't say you didn't love it.
Feel that
you just didn't. You don't value it the same way I do. That's it.
I feel comedy's harder to pull off. And
no, this guy doesn't like lowbrow humor anymore.
No, I do, dude. I like Clerks. I like shit like that.
Clerks isn't the same type of lowbrow humor as Ready to Rumble and Not Another Teen Movie.
Yeah, no shit. Because that's just like the bottom of the barrel.
But also, Not Another Teen Movie, it has like sophisticated lowbrow humor too in there. Okay, it's nuanced. It's very nuanced. You gotta it's just not just like it's not like those disaster movies or anything like that. It actually, when they put real effort into parody movies, that's what Not Another Teen Movie is. It's a Scary Movie 1, Scary Movie 2, Loaded Weapon 1, like that level of goodness, you know.
Man, name.
Yeah, I give you a lot of great parody movies. Loaded Weapon 1, you love that one.
Hey, here's the thing. Like, I just don't. They're entertaining, but this crap where you're trying to say like it's a better movie is just turn around my head around that.
I'll put it like this. They're like, okay, gun to the head. You know, which one are you picking? I'm picking Not Another Teen Movie or Ready to Rumble over fucking Iron Claw. And I like Iron Claw. And also, it's also not fair because Iron Claw's a new movie. I haven't seen it as many times. Time will maybe tell, but it's gonna
I'm not saying which one you would prefer to watch. I'm saying what is a better movie. It's like, for example,
like I told
Jordan, dude, hold on.
It's too hard.
I like Tim Thomas. I like Tim Thomas as a basketball player. Okay? I like Sean Kemp. But I know Jordan was better than both of them. And I would have, but and if you gave me a choice,
You can't compare movies to sports because athletics, it's objective. The stats don't lie.
It's subjective, you mean?
No, it's objective. It's objective. Sports is objective. Movies are subjective.
Yes and no, though. It's like
I get there's a yes and no, but overall you can't say it's objective because movies at the end of the day can't be objective. There could be objective things in movies and about movies, but
oh man, I don't know what I'm hearing.
Like the sports comparison is too hard because I don't like LeBron James, but I can't deny that he's a great player. I can't say LeBron sucks. Look at his goddamn stats and his championships. I did not like Jordan. You know, we both didn't like Jordan when we were watching basketball, but that guy won 6 championships and he can't always beat the teams that we wanted to win against him, you know? And we like players more. Like I like Sean Kemp. He was one of my favorite players. Alonzo Mourning, but I'm not going to say Sean Kemp is a better player than Michael Jordan because
you'll say Paul Pierce was.
That's the only guy.
And we all know that's not true. Right there, it's not true.
Obviously,
all validity is lost.
No, obviously, Michael Jordan is better than Paul Pierce. But I'm just saying, Paul Pierce is my favorite player.
Oh man,
but with sports, it's too hard. You got to be more objective. It's like
all right.
It's like
let's
MMA,
just stop the conversation. Let's just stop the conversation here. All right, 7.0 for the Iron Claw.
Let me know. Am I crazy? Put it in the comments. Am I crazy, or is Nathan like being a little too much of a?
I'm gonna say you're not crazy. You're freaking ridiculous. Oh man, I'm telling you, his tell is when he does this crap. When he's trying to win an argument, that's his tell of like, I'm making a very unreasonable statement here. Yeah, that's exactly his tell. So
Ant-Man, baby. Ant-Man.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching the channel. If you guys hit a like and a subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated. And we'll be back with some more movie reviews, discussing some more movie stuff. 24 Chambers of Film. Have a good one.